So hello everybody. In this video I hope to impart a few bits of advice that I think are really important to consider when writing your personal statement. Before you write your personal statement, it is really important to consider firstly what it is and secondly what it's going to be used for. So what is a personal statement? Well, it's in the name. It's personal and it's a statement. When I say personal, I mean it's all about you. It's about your experiences, your reflections, and your reasons for why you want to spend the next 5 or 6 years at medical school training to become a doctor. The second thing you should consider is what is it going to be used for? It's going to be used as part of a holistic application process. It'll be used alongside your GCSE grades, your A-level grades, or your A2 predictions, and your medical school entrance exams to consider people for interviews. But also, your personal statement may be used after interviews, just when medical schools are looking at candidates or looking at very similar candidates and trying to discern which candidate deserves the place. You could consider the personal statement as being a gatekeeper or a key to the interview, because usually medical school students, are of a very high caliber. Their grades are often very similar, near the high end of the spectrum. So the admissions tutors need something to differentiate students, and something that helps them or makes them believe that you're the person who deserves to gain an interview, and you're the person that deserves to gain a place at their medical school. So now I'm going to go through a few different things that you should think about when you begin to plan your personal statement. Now, I want to stress that your personal statement will not be written in a matter of days. It'll be written over a matter of weeks. And not only that, you'll make a lot of changes to it. And to be honest, from my experience anyway, you're never going to be absolutely happy with your personal statement. There'll always be something that you wanted to add or something that you wanted to change when you look back at how you wrote your personal statement. But the main thing is that the personal statement encompasses reflections of your experiences. So enough of the jibber jabber, and I'll talk about what exactly you should put in your personal statement. So the stuff I'm going to mention now are like the core elements that every personal statement should have and should be structured around. So the main thing you should mention in your personal statement is your work experience. Your work experience is your insight into what a medical career is like. Now, I know some children are fortunate to have placements at GP surgeries, or others are fortunate to have placements at surgical departments. However, the most important thing is that you've had some sort of medical exposure. Not everyone has the connections or the ability to find a multitude of places. Now, if you are someone that can or has been able to access these sorts of experiences and a lot of these experiences, that's really good for you, because you'll have a lot of stuff to talk about. But if you don't, and you've only had 1 or 2 work experience placements, you can still find plenty of things that you can reflect upon and talk about in your personal statement. So, when at work experience, you would have most probably talked to lots of patients, you would have seen many different things, and so it is important to link in specific examples from your work experience that really changed your perception of medicine and really motivated you to want to study medicine. Now, admissions tutors know that the medical degree is a very difficult one. It's 5-6 years. It's really hard to get into, and who would want to do it if it's so difficult? So you need to prove to the admissions tutor that you are capable and motivated to get through this degree and become a doctor. And the best way to show this motivation is through things that you've seen in work experience. And the way to convince an admissions tutor is to reflect upon your experiences. And if you reflect well, it'll come across really well. And then the admissions tutor will be curious to know more about what exactly you saw and how that affected you. So this is the sort of stuff you should be putting into your personal statement. Now, another important thing that I think every personal statement should have is a bit about volunteering. As well as, having lots of work experience, voluntary work is really important because it kind of it makes you realize things and appreciate things that you may not have done before you had done that volunteering placement. For example, I spent a year at my local hospital volunteering in the dementia ward. Now, I found this really rewarding for many personal reasons. And I just mentioned this in a personal statement, and I just talked about how, having interacted with patients who, have dementia, I came to appreciate how there are many types and many ways of communicating to patients other than simply just talking to them. So this is just a very niche example, and I'm going into detail. But what I'm trying to convey is that it doesn't matter what sort of volunteering you did, you can still find things that are relevant that kind of they can link into your personal statement, and that you can use to show qualities, and that you can use to come up with a good reflection of why you have the ability and the qualities to get through a 5 or 6 year medical degree. Now, you should also mention some things of interest that arose from your work experience. For example, I was fortunate enough to spend some time in a neurosurgery ward, and there I saw a lot of cancers of the brain. As a consequence, I became really interested in cancers, and I read a few papers, a few books, and I visited a few laboratories that were researching cancer, particularly the P53 gene. So that became a short paragraph in my personal statement. So as well as reflecting on the experiences I had with patients, I reflected on a few medical conditions that I found of interest. Now, I think that this is a good thing to do because it shows not only that you have an interest in people and interacting with people, but also having a sound scientific foundation that allows you to make accurate diagnoses and eventual prognoses. So, quickly summarizing, your research interests are quite important. You may want to mention a book that you read that helped you further your interests into a certain condition or a certain topic, but that's something you should consider. Another paragraph should be about your school achievements and commitments that kind of show that you have an interest to study medicine. So this will be this might be you being part of an anatomy society at school, or you may be writing for a journal, or you visiting a few lectures on a certain topic or by a certain lecturer. This shows that you are being proactive, that you're not just doing medicine because, let's say, you spent a few weeks on a medical ward, you saw it was quite cool, you work with high-tech equipment and you get to interact with people. No, you need to have more. You need to show that you've actually gone out as on top of your work experience, that you've dedicated your time outside of school to actually go to lectures, to educate yourself about things that really interest you. And so medical schools will be looking for people who are proactive, who want to look into things in more detail. So to conclude this paragraph, you should talk about something that you've done or things that you've been involved in that show that you are proactive, that you are motivated outside of your academic studies, that convince an admissions tutor that you are really interested in medicine and aren't just doing it because you saw really cool things and work experience. Now, people talk about an 80-20 split, and this 80-20 split refers to 80% about your work experience and medical related stuff and 20% about non-medical related stuff. I think this is a good ratio to go by, because medical schools are interested about why you want to do medicine. They're not interested I'm sure they are interested, but you don't want to dwell too much in your personal statement about things that don't show that you want to do medicine. You want, for example, you may, play the piano, you may be a great sailor, you may be a good rower, you may be the world's or the country's go-karting champion. You may be an amazing person with so many things extracurricular outside of school. But at the end of the day, you want to try and link these activities in such a way that help you show that you're motivated for medicine and that you're suitable for medicine. So this 20% of extracurricular stuff should involve you linking your sports or your hobbies, your musical activities, and drawing out some key aspects and qualities or key skills that you've gained from doing these extracurricular activities that you can transfer on to a medical career or to a medical degree, right? What you want to try and show is that having done these sports or having played these instruments, you developed key skills, that you developed key qualities that that make you suitable for a medical degree. So to kind of conclude, the rough framework you should have for a medical personal statement involves your work experience, your volunteering, your research interests that stem from your work experience, and your extracurricular activities. Now, if you go through all of these, and if you kind of mind map different things for different sections, you will very quickly actually, and you might be surprised, I was definitely surprised back in the day, how many things that you've done that you can put in to your personal statement. Now, it is important that you try your best not to cram in as much as you can into your personal statement. Now, it is, of course, you want to show the admissions teacher that you've done a lot, that you're already proactive, that you're already motivated. But as well as showing the admissions tutors what you've done, it is just as important, and I emphasize this, it is just as important to show the admissions tutor what you've learned from it. So an example I have is I used to be really keen about water sports, and I spent 3 days on a canoeing expedition as part of my Duke of Edinburgh expedition. Now, of course, I got a Duke of Edinburgh qualification out of it. I spent 3 days canoeing. I had a great time with my friends. It was such a great time, and I gained a lot from it. However, in my personal statement, you might be surprised that I didn't actually even mention Duke of Edinburgh. I simply mentioned that I went on a 3-day expedition, a canoeing expedition, from which I gained leadership skills and from which I had to learn how to delegate tasks and manage my time, as being a team leader of a group of 5-6 canoes required organization. It required me to develop certain skills that allowed people to be managed in a correct way and for people, or for us as a group, to succeed and pass our expedition. So I'm not sure that was the best of examples, but what I'm trying to show is that it's not about name dropping big things that you've done. It's more about showing what you've gained from it and how you become a better person from that, and how you can transfer what you've gained to a possible medical degree. So, to conclude, the medical personal statement can be considered a gatekeeper to the medical interviews. Through your personal statement, you're trying to show that from your past experiences, you've gained qualities and you've gained skills that will help you one day become a motivated and successful doctor. And to be frank, that's all the personal statement's all about. So as long as you make sure to reflect, and as long as you're honest, you'd have a very good personal statement. So thanks for watching, and as I mentioned, if you've got any questions, do comment down below, and I'll try my best to answer them. And if you've got any other questions about medical school or applying, again, comment down below and I'll answer them, or if enough people ask, I'll make a video about it. So once again, thanks for watching.